So in today's podcast, continuing our true tales of the Beatles universe. Full disclosure before we start, because we're going to be talking about the Pete Best, Neil Aspinall, Mona Best situation with a love child and all that. My Uncle Lloyd Lapointe is the brother of my mother. He's also my step-grandfather. Here's why. My mother married a man from northern New Brunswick. His mother started dating my uncle and lived common law. So technically, he's my step common law grandfather. So that makes my mother's brother also the step father-in-law. So very complicated. It happens what it is. A lot of steps in the family, as we say. Northern New Brunswick is known for that because big extended families, and sometimes you marry your cousin you don't know. Anyway, getting back to the point of the story. A lot of people found out about this fully with the start of the internet generation between 1993 and 2003. Now we're going to talk today about the strange but true fact about the longtime Beatles associate Neil Aspinall and the affair he had with Pete Best's mother, Mona Best. Pete Best was the drummer for the Beatles before Ringo was brought in to replace Pete after that infamous recording session. Now, according to MeetTheBeatlesForReal.com, and we're just quoting from this great website, one of the stranger things that has come out over the years would be the relationship between Aspinall and Mona Best. The relationship in childhood was hush-hush in Liverpool at the time, with few people knowing the truth, although there were rumors going wild. It wasn't until after Mona's death in '88 that the story started to slowly get out, and then 10 years later a book was published that told about it. And some of the information could be found in the great Fab 4 Facts FAQ books that have already been published in recent years. Now, according to the website, and while today most fans know that Neil and Mona were an item, it's still an interesting footnote to Beatles history. Now, Neil had been friends with Paul and George since they were school together. He and Paul were in the same class, but he was also friends with George, and they both smoked their first cigarette together. Ironically and sadly, they both died as a result of smoking. Neil went to school for accounting, but like most young guys during that time, enjoyed hearing music and go hear his friends play at the Casbah Coffee Club, which was owned by Mona Best and her family. Now, to make extra money, and since her home on Eamons Green was very large, Mona would house boarders. After getting to know Mona and her family, Neil became a boarder in their home. In 1960, Neil was 19 and Mona was 36. Now, Mona at the time was married to one Johnny Best, who was a boxing promoter in Liverpool. Interestingly, Rory Best is the only biological child of Mona and Johnny. When the couple first met in India, Mona was studying to be a doctor. Instead, she moved to Liverpool after marriage to Best in '44 and became a housewife. It has been said that Johnny did not approve of Mona's carefree ways and what we now would think of as feminism. She was independent and took it upon herself to purchase a large home on Eamons Green by pawning jewelry and betting on a winning racehorse behind her husband's back. She also opened a Casbah for teenagers in the cellar of their home without her husband's blessing. Now, by the time Neil came to live in the home, Johnny and Mona were somewhat separated. Johnny was traveling for his boxing job but was not home very often. He refused to give Mona a divorce even though the couple had drifted apart. Now, no one really knows for sure or how or when the romantic relationship began between the two, or how much others knew about it. Neil and Pete Best became close friends, and along with the close friendship he had with Paul and George, he quit his accounting job and became the road manager for the Beatles, driving them to gigs. I should read up about the many trips he took in the cold weather with all the Beatles laying on top of each other for warmth. It's quite interesting. Now, by the spring of '62, it was obvious that Mona, who was 38, was expecting a baby. This caused a lot of gossiping because everyone knew that Johnny had not been around in a long time. However, no one questioned Mona about the baby. Victor Rogue Best was born on July 21st, 1962. Now, wanting to make sure that the child was legitimate, Mona decided to list Johnny Best as the child's father and gave him the same surname as everyone else in the family. However, Another big change was about to happen in the Best family when in August 1662, Pete Best was fired from the Beatles. Neil was with Pete at the time of the sacking, and the two had some pints in the grapes afterwards to drown their sorrows. Now, Brian Epstein assumed that Neil would pledge his allegiance to the Best family, and who would have blamed him, and lined up a new man to take Neil's place as the Beatles' role manager. However, Neil remained friends with Pete and involved with Mona, and still working with the Beatles. Now, according to the author of the post here, he says, many things I've read said that Neil moved out of Mona's home and he broke up directly after Pete was out of the Beatles. However, I am not sure if that is totally correct. Neil may have moved out of the home, however, he still was there often. He would store the Beatles' equipment in the home, and at times John, Paul, George, and Ringo would be sitting in the van outside the house while Neil ran inside to grab some equipment. Now, once Neil came to London, his relationship with Mona allegedly did not end. There are several stories about Mona coming and visiting Neil at his flat in 63, but the relationship between them was over for good once Neil met his wife Susie, or later wife Susie, in 64. They were married in 68 and remained together for 40 years until Neil's untimely death because of cancer. Now, strangely, even though Mona was very vocal about how upset she was about the Beatles sacking her son, and she blamed it all in the jealousy of the others because of Pete's good looks, she still remained on friendly terms with the Fab Four. And while none of the Beatles spoke to Pete Best on a regular basis after he was sacked, they still spoke to his mother. Mona loaned John Lennon his father's war medals, which he wore on the cover of the Sgt. Pepper album. John was so thankful that he returned the medals, along with the music award that is also seen on the cover. And the same year, he also sent her an All You Need Is Love doll. Maybe the fact that Mona was the mother of Neil's son had something to do with this, but we don't know. That's for the mist of time. Now, for many years, their son Rogue denied the rumors that Neil was his father, but in recent years, Rogue has been very proud to say he's the son of Mona Best and, of course, Neil Aspinall. The ins and outs of the Beatles circle is enough that a soap opera could have been written about it. Now, the idea is saying that this was kept in or speculation. All I know is that the fact when this came out, a lot of people were not, say, terribly surprised because, you know, when you're close like that, because the Beatles had so many close contacts. I'll give an exact example. Astrid again was good friends with Jackie Lomax after Stu Sutcliffe had died. He said that in the Beatles facts book. Were they dating or were they friends? We don't know, but it was a weird inner circle because Pattie Boyd went with Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton was good friends with George Harrison. There was numerous girlfriends that Paul had that other members of the Beatles were attracted to. There was all kind of rumors that, you know, Brian Epstein and John Lennon had a one-off, what they call jerk-off event while they were on vacation. Pete Shotton heard that confirmed by John Lennon in his book, like What's a Toss-Off Between Friends. So strange bedfellows, you know, people were sleeping with people, there was drug use together. But like in any other group, I mean, if you got a group of 15 people that are close over the years, sometimes the person likes the other person that just went broken up with by the other guy, and it happens. And the Beatles were real people. They made good choices and bad choices, and maybe that's why we loved them so much, because we saw a lot of ourselves in the Beatles, because, you know, they were searching for love, they're searching for answers. You just happen to sell 5 million copies of a 2-minute version of what it would take the normal person 70 years to really break down and say, this is what I need. So anyway, that's the story of the Best Aspinall situation. And again, Rogue is, from what I heard, he's a very nice gentleman. And, you know, love child or not, you know, good came of it. And where we can say about the story, people change and evolve and fall in out of love, and the Beatles were all about being normal. That's when they broke up. They wanted to be themselves on their own. They didn't want to be a product anymore, and, you know, all a power to them. Thanks for listening. Bye.